Good day, everyone. Today, we'll be exploring a crucial but often overlooked aspect of education, the affective learning competencies. My name is Laikame Sagas, and I'll be guiding you through why students' attitudes, values, and feelings are just as important as their academic scores. So here is our learning objectives. By the end of this lesson, we aim to achieve three key goals. First, define the concept of affective learning and its importance in students' overall development. Explain the three key reasons why we need to assess affect. And lastly, analyze and evaluate the arguments addressing the other side of affective assessment and the three components of attitude: the affective, cognitive, and behavioral. Affective assessment. So what is affective assessment? Systematic measurement of students' attitudes, interests, values, and self-esteem. So what do we mean by affective assessment? Simply put, it's the systematic measurement of the non-academic part of students' life. This isn't about test scores, but it's about gauging their attitudes toward learning, their self-esteem, the values they hold like integrity, and other character traits that are essential for long-term success. So here are the examples of affective variables. First, the attitudes toward learning, self-esteem and self-concept, values, the truthfulness and integrity, the character traits important for success. Why assess affect? So you might wonder, why should we measure this? The answer is that cognitive ability or book smarts alone isn't enough. Cognitive ability alone is insufficient. So let me give you an example. A student excels in math but hates it, so he won't apply learning. A student might be a math wizard but he might hate it, so he never use his skills in real life. So another brilliant writer but believe they're terrible, so they avoid writing. So the key takeaway here is that skills without positive attitude often go to waste. So it will be unused potential. Next is the importance of affect. It is according to William James Popham in 2014. Affective variables can be more significant than cognitive ones. So look at this success formula. A less gifted student who is highly motivated and hardworking will often achieve success. Conversely, a highly ability student with low self-worth who avoids challenges will likely underachieve, because this starts early on what we call the kindergarten effect, where a child's initial enthusiasm can be crushed by every failure, lowering their self-concept and negatively impacting their entire educational journey. So the negative attitudes will always influence all the subsequent education. So next is the three key reasons to assess affect. So first is influences academic achievement. Next, spurring effectively focused instruction. And lastly, monitoring and responding to changes. So here's the three key reasons to assess affect. First is influence academic achievement. Students' interests, values, and attitudes affect effort and consequently academic progress. So the first reason is straightforward, where a student's interests, values, and attitudes directly affect the effort they put in. If a student values a subject and has a positive attitude toward it, they will try harder, and that effort leads to better academic progress. So next reason is spurring effectively focused instruction. So the second reason is about signaling what's important. Formal assessment signals importance. Teachers become more intentional about including affective activities. So when we formally assess something, we show that we value it. This makes teachers more intentional about including activities that build positive attitudes and values. There's a powerful principle here. We measure what we treasure, and what we treasure, we nurture. So the results? Students become more positive about the subjects being taught. And the last reason is monitoring and responding to changes. The third reason is that effective assessment acts as a diagnostic tool. By checking periodically, we can spot negative shifts in a student's attitude. So this signals us that we need to review our instruction. So we can ask ourselves as a future teacher, when this di- when did this change happen? What was I teaching then? So this allows us to reflect and make targeted efforts to rebuild that positive effect. So teachers can identify when the negative change occurred, review the instructional program during that period, and also make the targeted efforts to nurture positive effect. Also, effective assessment is equals to where it results in a diagnostic tool for instruction. Let's proceed here. In the other side of the argument, we are addressing concerns. Some argue that schools should stick to academics and that values should be taught at home or in church. So this is a valid concern, but our response here is to focus only on universally approved outcomes. So we should avoid controversial values and instead target things everyone can agree on, like a positive attitude toward learning and a healthy self-esteem. As a future teachers, it's our responsibility to carefully select and justify the effective targets as we choose to measure. So next, we have here the appropriate targets of effective assessment. First, the positive attitudes toward learning. Next, healthy self-esteem. And the non-controversial values. Let's proceed in the three components contributing factors of attitudes. So, to understand attitudes better, we can look at the model by Forsyth in 1999 that breaks them down into three parts. First, the affective component, a positive or negative feeling. It is how you feel about something. Cognitive component, describing worth or value. It is what you believe about its value. And lastly, the behavioral component, where indicating a willingness or desire to engage in particular action. It is what you're willing to do about it. So, for example, a student's attitude towards science involves their feeling about it. They may describe it as fun or boring. So, their belief in its importance and their willingness to do a science project. So, here are the key takeaways. Affective variables are as important as or more than cognitive abilities. And systematic assessment of affect is currently uncommon but essential. Assessment drives instruction. Measuring affect leads to nurturing it. Focus on universally approved effective outcomes. And current affective status predicts future behavior. And lastly, teachers should select effective targets wisely and justify them carefully. And I'll leave you with this question to reflect on. Some students are judged mainly by their academic performance while their attitudes and values are often overlooked. How can this belief affect the purpose of education and why should effective learning can be given equal importance?